So growing up, I was always very fixated on making my parents proud. But a little context, my mom, when she was growing up, was really a little bit rebellious. She always tells these weird kind of vague stories about this one summer she had where she dyed her hair pink and ran away to the beach, and there were no phones back then, so she was just like, yeah, my parents, they wondered where I was, but yeah, I was at the beach. What can I say, And I was like, for the whole summer? And she's like, yeah, I was there the entire summer. And she was really proud of that summer. I don't know what happened. I'm guessing a lot of debaucherous stuff that I probably don't want to know about my mom. So, yeah. But growing up, I always heard all these stories, and I always knew that my mom had this really rebellious childhood, and she just got into trouble, but she made it seem like it was kind of just like a part of life, like this is what you do. And growing up, I was very not like that. I was super, I don't know what the word is. I just wasn't that way. And so when I was growing up, I always felt like my mom wished I was a little bit more like that. Like she's walking this line of like being my mom and not wanting me to get into trouble, but also being a little bit like, hey, it wouldn't be the worst thing if you did. And so I always felt like I was living in this tension of like, how do I make her proud? Because I feel like no matter what I do, I'm doing the wrong thing. So me staying up past my bedtime when I was in middle and high school most often looked like me hiding in my closet to read a book until 5 o'clock in the morning. And that was what I most frequently got in trouble for. And I, along the way, ended up feeling like maybe the reason that I was getting into trouble for this was not because my mom was upset that I was staying up past my bedtime, but upset that I was choosing to spend my time past my bedtime reading in the closet. I don't know why. Yeah. So I think she could have just wished that I was like, sneaking out of the house and maybe trying a light recreational drug of some sort. Normal kid stuff that moms love when their children do. So fast forward to me, post-college, I'm still just as weird and whatever I am as I was back then. And to make my parents really proud of me, I moved back home after college. Every parent's dream. She's never gonna leave. So I moved back home after college. I'm 20-something, whatever, years old. And I finally start dating who will eventually become my husband. He is my husband now. Eventually, at this time, he would become my husband. So, at this point, I think my mom had always been like, she always made all these weird comments about how, like, I should become a nun because that would just be the most fulfilling life for me. I should probably join a convent. I should do all of these things because she just knew that I was never going to find someone to be with. And, I always felt that, and I kind of, I was feeling the same way, like, yeah, I'll probably just never get married, whatever. Well, I met Seth, and now we're married, so, to me and my mom. Yeah, Seth, look at him go. Yeah. So Seth and I, have just started dating. I'm, reminder, living with my parents. And I had walked in on my parents having sex multiple times throughout my childhood. It was really a traumatic experience for me every single time. There was one time where I heard them via the baby monitor that they had forgotten to turn off. It was really horrible. So I've been looking for payback for them for that my entire life, probably on some deep subconscious level. That's the only way that I can explain what will happen next. So I'm living at home in a twin bed, and Seth and I were on like our second date or something, and I was like, hey, you want to come back to my place? My parents' place in my childhood bedroom. It's totally cool. We can definitely both fit in this bed. So I come back, and start getting hot and heavy. It's looking like an unairbrushed Gap ad. I'm like, both of us are in our jeans. I'm still wearing my bra. He has his shirt off. But it's like, it's a moment. It's like, this looks good. If you took a snapshot, you could definitely put that in a magazine somewhere. I don't know. So my mom walks in. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. We've been out all night. We get home. We're making out. The Gap ad's happening. And my mom walks in. And she just opens the door, and Seth, who's normally like super confident in every situation, just like turns and is just staring straight into space, like avoiding at all costs eye contact with my mom. And so I'm like, I guess I have to be the one to say something, I guess, because my mom just opens the door and is just kind of like, oh. And I'm like, hey. And she's like, hey, so I noticed, like, you left the front light on. That's so weird. Like, I just was a little worried because, when you get home, you really just, make sure that we know you got home by just, like, flicking the light off or, something like that, just so that we're not worried that you haven't gotten home yet. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And Seth and I are still, like, wrapped around each other, like my leg draped over his. He's staring straight out to nowhere. And I'm just like, yeah, definitely we'll do that next time. And she's like, yeah, because, it's just nice for me to know you guys are home, and, yeah, that's why I came by, just because, I just needed to check and see if you were home. And I'm like, well, we are, so thanks. And she left, and I was feeling really uncomfortable at first, but then I thought about it, and I was like, I think I finally made my mom proud.